Oh, Catarina, where and when were you born?
So I was born in Salvador, Bahia, Brazil, in the 30th of March of 2007.
Uh-huh. So that makes you an Aries, the ram, the
Yes,
and
it makes me an Aries.
and those I think of them as being leaders and strong and having firm convictions and energy. Does that describe you?
Yes, that describes me a lot because I'm really persistent and I never give up and I really like to do things. Yeah.
What other words would describe you to someone who doesn't know you?
Yes. I believe responsible, um caring and persistent. These three words describe me a lot.
Okay. And as you're an only child, you don't have siblings, right?
Yes, I'm an only child.
A lot of times leaders are first or only children. They get a lot of encouragement from their parents and that kind of thing. It's an interesting kind of pattern.
Yes, as an only child, I believe my both parents they help me a lot and they support me a lot on my works. They were the ones who gave me my environmental education, and I'm really glad of having these opportunities of having parents who are really conscious of their actions and who also are really connected to nature and love nature.
Yes, that is fortunate. Do they do environmental activism work too, or are they just people who are aware that we need to take care of the environment?
They also do environmental activism. My first environmental activism was one that I was like born, let's say, in a fight to protect a forest called Vale Encantado, which my parents and my grandparent was already in this fight. So let's say I was born in this fight, and this was my first activism fight.
They were trying to save it from loggers.
Um, Not loggers, but they were trying to protect it because the government wanted to pass a road, and so they would dump sand on a lake, and then they will cut the rest of the forest off to create a gigantic road. And we are in lack of forests, and they want to take the little bit we have out.
And did they succeed in protecting the forest? Is it still there?
Yes, it is still there. We You can see the forest from my house.
Oh, good.
Right now I'm in my grandmother's house, but from my house you can see it, and it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Hmm. Um, I know that Bolsonaro has put economic gain and farmers and logging above the indigenous people and preserving the rainforest that's the lungs of the planet. And I wonder what kind of activism there is in Brazil to oppose that destruction of the rainforest.
Um, Really activism about rainforest here in Brazil specifically. I believe there is mainly social media, but it's not really activism. It's like just some people from the society which they post things. I believe the indigenous people are the main ones who speak about it. I also really post on all my social medias, and I believe we need more types of activism to protect the rainforest because I believe we're in lack of that type of activism. And here in Brazil, um, I believe we do not have that much type of people because I believe here in Brazil we have a lot of lack of environmental and sustainable education. And because of that, I believe people are unconscious, and so they don't understand the benefits the rainforest give us, and that we need the Amazon rainforest to live.
Are you saying that Brazil does not have environmental education in schools?
Yeah, Brazil does not have environmental education in schools as a mandatory subject. And I believe that schools have to have this type of subject in mandatory classrooms because it is essential for the new generations to grow up with this type of education. Because I grew up with this great opportunity of my parents knowing this, and so they gave me this education at home, but there are kids who do not have the same opportunity as I have, and so they could have this opportunity at schools.
Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like you have your work cut out for you to change Brazilian education curriculum.
Yes, I hope I can change it.
Oh boy.
I-
Um, you go to an international school. That's why your English is so good.
Yes, I go to an international school called Pan American School of Bahia, and I'm in this school since I was 2 years old. So and it was my only school, so that's why I speak English.
What grade are you going into when school starts again?
I'm going to eighth grade.
Um, because of the pandemic, did you go to virtual education or were you able to go to the classroom?
Because of the pandemic, I had to go to virtual education.
And how was that? Did it work for you or not work for you? I'm interested in whether you can learn as much if you're not in the classroom.
I believe it was really interesting to have this different type of experience. I love to try new things. And I like it because when I was at school, I didn't stay a lot with my family. And so I believe that with the online classrooms, I had more time to stay with my family and give them more attention. And it also made me be more responsible with myself because I had to be responsible to do my homeworks and to do my tests and to get in time. And so I believe it was great and I really liked it.
Um, are you going to go back to the classroom when school starts again, or are they going to keep on with the virtual learning?
Um, so I don't know if I'm continuing on the same school. Maybe I'm continuing, but I don't know. I think that if I continue on the school will continue online, probably. But if I'm not in the school, I'm going to study on an American school on the online.
Oh, it's like an international school, and they don't and the
Yes,
that would be
yes,
interesting.
online. Here in Brazil.
When you have that virtual learning, do the teachers like do video talks, or is it all read this book and write this paper, do this assignment? I mean, how does the teacher teach online?
It's the teacher. They teach it in many different ways, but we teach it a lot through Zoom. And so, like the teacher, she explained through Zoom and everything. And we did our tests through Zoom, like oral tests, but the homework we did not in classroom. So yeah, but it was plainly like she explained like in the video call.
And then you can ask questions on the Zoom call.
Yes, I can ask questions,
Uh,
I have doubts and everything. Like
mm,
an oral classroom, but really I'm not in touch with the people, but I can still talk to them.
got it. Um, were the other students in your school aware of the environment in your school? Did they teach about the climate crisis?
In my school, we have as an optional class, we have the environmental science, which I did it one entire year in sixth grade, in seventh grade in the beginning of the year. And so in the second semester, I didn't do it because it was online, and so it changed a lot of things. But it's an optional class, so it's not a mandatory class. But there are people people who do it, I really learned more about global warming, climate change in this environmental science classroom.
Got
And
it.
so that if we had this type of classroom as a mandatory classroom, everybody would be aware of it.
Do you work with other young people in your activism, or are you kind of working on your own there?
Here in Brazil specifically, or on the world?
Well, Brazil.
Here in Brazil, I do not really know a lot of activism like me. Now I just entered in a group called Eco Women, which they are trying to get girls from, I believe, all over the world. And so, but they're also trying to get girls from Brazil. But for what I see, there are not a lot of people here of Brazil who are aware of it like I am. I don't know really activism like me, but I try to spread as much awareness as I can. But for what I see, even sometimes friends of mine don't want to hear me because they think I'm just a crazy person who just cares about the environment. And like they don't try to hear me, but I really try to do my best.
Hmm. Well, is Eco Women, was it started in Brazil, or where? Who started Eco Women?
Um, Echo Women, I believe it has a group of advocates here from Brazil, here from Bahia called OAB. And I know it was created from people here from Brazil. I think it has some people from different types of states in Brazil, and they took it to the United Nations, and it's a project which they want to get together with the 17 objectives of the sustainability.
Hmm. What are some examples of the 17 objectives? I don't need them all 17, but what should you think are the really crucial ones?
Um, I'm really, in my opinion, all 17 are really important, but I know some of them. I don't know all of them, but I know there is the climate change, the climate balance, I think, and then there is healthy and wellness, and then there is gender equality, and there is, I forgot the name, but it's one which is for nature, for us to start taking care of nature. And then I believe there's also one that food security, I think, because I believe people are having also lack of food. And there's, I think, clean water for everyone. Yeah, there's many more, but I believe that really all of the 17 objectives are essential.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Is that group people, women, girls of different ages? So it's not youth
Yes.
led.
It's from 13 until I 22.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
for youth.
It's for youth.
Ah, and do you know who started it?
Um, I don't know who started it, but I think um I know one of the women who it were one of them who created the project. Her name is Lazy. She's also an advocate, and I think she's part of the OAB or AB here from Bahia, and she was one of the people who created the project.
Hmm, wonderful. And do you know roughly how old she is?
Um, no, but I think she is like from the older generation. I think she's probably 35, 40 from there.
Uh, uh,
Yes.
um, then you're also part of the suit through UNESCO against 5 countries who aren't doing their due diligence for the climate. What's the status of that now?
So the group is called hashtag Children versus Climate Crisis, which me and 15 other kids, youth from all around the world, we went to the UNICEF And we also wrote a petition because we wanted to demand global leaders climate action right now. And we said that we, the new generations, are going to be the one there in the future, paying the consequences of the older generation's actions.
And you went to New York last year in 2019?
Yes, I went to New York in September of 2019.
And what was the reaction from the UNICEF people? And is there any progress? What did the Brazilian government reply?
Um, the Brazilian government, its reply for our petition was that they said that they wanted us to take this petition. It should be like done in Brazil and not in the United Nations. But our response was that if we did in Brazil, the other four countries, there was Germany, Turkey, Argentina, and France, couldn't be like told to lower their carbon emissions, and so we wanted to take it to the United Nations, so we could not just tell Brazil to do that, but also tell the other four countries.
And
Yes.
those countries were picked because they signed the UN Convention on Children or the Rights of Children.
It was because of the Paris Agreement, and so these countries they are like not willing to reduce their carbon emissions
The
as they
Paris,
sign.
mm, yeah, their emission is going up. Germany's trying. It seems like they have a lot of renewable energy and they're kind of in the forefront. Although they have a lot of coal.
Yes, but I believe countries we have like to give them a push, and I believe that this petition is to really make them understand that it doesn't matter which government it is. We want the best for our country and for our environment. And so we are doing this to help our country and the society, not just from the country, but from the entire world.
Right, because we know that global warming, it doesn't just happen in a country, it happens around the world.
They have a barrier, like a barrier doesn't stop
No.
it from spreading. Yeah.
And how did there's an attorney's firm and an organization that's kind of working with the petition. How did they find you?
The name of the organization is Airstore Oceans. There's also other petitioners which are from Airstore Oceans. And so they found me because, first of all, I have a friend called Jasmine, and her mother is called Chandra. And she comes to Brazil every year, and she comes here in the middle of the year. And her daughter, Jasmine, she's almost like my sister. She's one of my best friends. And there's a story of mine, an experience that I passed. That there is a coral reef pool, natural pool, and so it's surrounded by coral reef, and there's a coral reef on the middle. And so in the summer, I was swimming on this coral reef, and when I got close to this coral reef on the middle, it was with a lot of white spots, and I knew that these white spots meant these coral reefs were dead.
It's
And
bleached. They call it
yes,
bleached.
bleached, exactly. It was bleached. And the water was really, really hot. But I thought the water was just hot on the top. And so, like, I dived and touched the sand because I wanted the water to cool down. But it continued to get hot. And, like, I didn't stand the water. And so I had to leave because I didn't stand because it was too hot. Like, not a normal hot, but a shower hot.
Ooh.
And when I got out, I was like, if I can stand the water, how can the fish and the coral reefs and the other sea animals which live in that place will stand it? But I didn't understand what was that. And so how I said, I was in environmental science class, and we started talking about global warming and climate change, and that our temperature of our planet is rising. And so the story came up on my head, and I plainly understand because that hot water was not normal. And so I understood, and I wanted to take action. And so this friend came from the United States because she lives there in California. She came to Brazil in the middle of the year, and she knows the April Peebler, which is the one who like one of the creator of Extra Oceans. And April Peebler asked her if she knew a Brazilian who really liked nature and did things with nature and was an activist with nature, but also was connected with it. And so she told her about me. And when she got here, she asked me if I wanted to do a video call with them, like this one we are doing, so I could talk with them. And so I did a video call and I told them my story. And they asked me if I wanted to tell this story to the world. And so, of course, I agreed because I could create a global impact with that story. And so
Yes.
that was how, yeah, I firstly met Extra Oceans and the group of the UN who took me to the United Nations. And so there I met some heirs who were also petitioning together with me. And I believe that when I went to the United Nations and I entered in the Extra Oceans, and it was like a great opportunity for me. It's been a great opportunity for me.
Mm-hmm. When you were in New York, what was there culture shock? That was your first time in the U.S. What was your impression?
It was not my first time in the U.S. Neither in New York because there was a time where I went to Hawaii. And so when I came back to Hawaii, yeah, I stayed one day, in between the flights. I had like 10 hours to stay in New York. So me and my mother, we went out to see it. But really, for me, it counts as the first time because it was when I really saw the city and saw everything. And it was different, like a little bit strange, but it was like really cool to see the different cultures and not just from New York, but I had other youths together with me from other places of the world. So it was really cool, like to get together with these people and see their cultures and their perspectives.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is the most effective tool in your goal to educate people about climate change? Is it scientific facts? Is it stories? Is it visual images? What do you think is really impactful in saying people we have to stop this?
Really, um, we have to make people conscious. And I believe that for what I've seen, there are many people who do not listen to science, and there are people who do. And there's also these youths who are getting together and telling their experiences and telling that the consequences they're already starting to pay because of the climate crisis. But in my opinion, we have to start to give the environmental and sustainable education because for us to really stop climate change or at least get it a little bit down, its consequences not to be as strong. Um, I believe people have to make the right choices and take the right actions. And for that to happen, people have to be conscious and mindful of how those actions can affect us negatively or positively. And so they have to have this environmental and sustainable education because if they have that, then they'll be more conscious of that. And so I believe this type of education, how I said, it needs to have as a mandatory classroom at schools because then kids will have this type of education at schools. And for what I see sometimes, the kids, they also give a little bit of knowledge to their parents. And I believe that would be really, really great. Yes.
How do you use social media? What are your main do you use Twitter and Instagram, or what are your main social media sites, and how do you get the message out?
My main really social media site is Instagram. My Instagram is Catarina, that line at the bottom, Lorenzo, and there I really create a great impact. I believe, even though I do not have that much people following me, I believe that with what I have, I already create a good impact, and I am always trying to let them be more mindful and conscious of how their actions. So I'm doing videos, and if I see a post that I believe it's really educational, I post on my Instagram, that types of things.
Mm-hmm. You're a surfer like your dad, is that right?
Yes, I'm a surfer.
And what do you see surfing besides when you were on the reef and saw the coral bleached? What else do you see in the ocean that gives you concern?
When I'm surfing a lot, I see a lot of plastics, and I know this is not right because for what I know, sea animals, sea turtles, they confuse plastic with algae, and so they eat and die. Also, I'm seeing sometimes algal blooms and less algae than I had before. And I know algae, they give, I believe, two-thirds of our oxygen. So they're as important as forests because they're like our forests under the ocean. Other things that I'm seeing is that the water it's getting hotter, and that is not normal. Or like in the summer it's really hot, and in the winter it's like an unnormal cold, and it's like really strange. And I hope that this will not affect me, because if this probably continues, maybe then it will affect me directly. Maybe I won't be able more to serve. And there's not just me, but by affecting animals, it also affects different people, because there are people who are dependent in the ocean because they live of getting fish and selling these fishes. And so if we have less fish in the ocean, these people will not have money, and then they'll probably not have food on their table and everything. So we have to be really careful with our actions.
Yeah, we do have less fish. I mean, it's happened.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a problem. When you think about activists that you know, and I know that the petition to the UN, there were more young women than men. Um, why do you think that is that girls are in the forefront and the majority of climate activism around the world?
Um, I really don't know, but if sometimes boys think activism is something for girls, and I think this is not right. I believe we have to be equal, we have to have equity and equality. But I think that this is one of the main issues, because sometimes boys think activism is just for girls, and that saving turtles and saving the nature is just a girl thing. And yeah, maybe it's that, but this is just a hypothesis.
Well, something's happening because there are, everybody I talk to says, oh, 70% or more of the group, the activists are young women. So something is happening to keep the boys away. And someone I talked to said kind of what you said, that it's not cool. So if you're a high school boy, it's not cool to be an activist because you should be, I guess, an athlete or a
Hmm.
musician or something.
Yes, yeah, I believe this is a lot because people, I believe, they want to go, let's say, together with the group, because they don't want to be outsiders. And so for that, they want like to follow someone, or the thing that is like most in fashion, they want to follow it. And so if being a boy, that all boys is playing soccer, let's say, all other boys want to play soccer. And so if all boys say activism is just for girls, then mainly all boys will think activism is just for girls. And that happens a lot. Something maybe that happens too, I believe, sometimes there are groups which they sometimes like they just want girls, and I believe that there is something that happens a lot, that I believe if we gave the opportunity equally for both of them, like groups which accept boys and girls, I believe you will have a more balance.
Oh, so you're saying that like in high school, some groups are just for girls or just for boys. That
Yes.
yeah, like we had when I went to high school YWCA groups, and there were clubs that were just for girls or just for boys. So you're saying that we need to get the habit established of boys and girls working together in groups.
Yes, because I believe that if we see both of them working together, people see that there is no problem. That it's not just for girls or not just for boys, it's for both.
Yeah, we're all breathing the same air, swimming in the
Yes,
same ocean. My goodness, it's not like there's a boy ocean and a girl ocean or something,
exactly.
something like that. Um, your generation Z is, I think, uniquely activist. It's other generations didn't have people that like you that are outspoken at such a young age. Why do you think Generation Z is so brave?
In my opinion, I believe the Generation Z is more aware and more brave because I believe that they grew up, let's say, I'll give you a great example. There is a thing called thinking outside the box, and there's something saying thinking inside the box. And when I think thinking outside the box, I also think that like we are thinking more creative, but not just more creative, but we have let's say more things to help us. And so like before they had like more trees, more forests. A great example here in Brazil, we have rivers which now my grandparents and my mother and my dad, they swim on the river, and now we cannot swim because there's sewage on the river and they put concrete at the side and everything, and so it's polluted. And so they had like more materials and more things to live, and so let's say they were outside of the box. But now we are, let's say, inside of the box. So we have less materials and less things, and so we have to think more creatively. And so what we saw was that we had to do something, and so we started creating things to take action. We started uniting ourselves to show that youths can also have voice, that youths also know what they're talking about, that we are also smart, that we are the ones going to be there paying the consequences. And so we got together, and I believe together we are stronger. And when we see one youth or one kid going up there, I believe this kid inspires more and more, and so we get together and we get more people and we get stronger and braver.
Mm. Do you think that this could have happened without social media, or is it dependent on social media?
Um, I believe this would have happened with or without social media, but um, I believe that a problem that it would take longer. So probably the consequences of climate change or for more people to be aware, it would really take a long time. And I believe social media was really essential to like spread awareness faster and for more people to like see it and wants to enter in it, because social media, like imagine someone posts on Twitter, and from Twitter it goes to Instagram, and it goes to TikTok and to Facebook, and then it goes to YouTube, and that is all social media. So I believe it would happen, but not as fast. It could take like 50 years or more, and so the time would have been lost. So I believe social media was really essential.
Yeah, we only have about a decade, maybe 11 years, to turn it around, the climate scientists say. So we don't have 50 years.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like in 50 years, we would already, our time have been over and done. Like we'll have no more time to do anything.
It there's a growing problem that people are talking about around the world. of young people being more anxious and depressed, especially girls have more anxiety and depression. And I wonder if you see that among your peers or if it's not a Brazilian problem.
Um, yes, I see this a lot. I have even cousins of mine who are not depressed, but sometimes they're anxious. I'm seeing that social media, it has its really good parts, but sometimes there are like games who makes them anxious because like they're playing the game and they want to win it and everything, and sometimes people are getting depressed because like they think that that person is more beautiful than them, or because they're suffering bullying, cyberbullying, and these things. And so not a lot. I believe it's both with girls and boys, but what I see is that like back then, for what I know, mainly the parents were like, you are too much outside, and nowadays people are like, go outside, go play, or go read a book, or like let the cell phone at the side. And I believe this makes sometimes people depressed because sometimes they see things on social media which are not good to them, and these things I believe are affecting them negatively. Of course there are great things in social media, but yeah, like there is people who are depressed and a lot more people who are anxious here in Brazil.
You said that video games can make people anxious. Is it because they're so speedy? They're or what? What's the connection with video games?
Video games, I believe the biggest problem with them is that like mainly the main of them like to win or like to get to a goal, but then of course it's great to get to a goal, but they want to do it fast times, like their friends playing with them, and it's good to have this contact, but like imagine they're at school, let's say this is a time for them to they have classroom, but then there is a friend of his who right now is in recess and it wants to play, so then the video game like takes the attention out of the kid which is in classroom because he's anxious to play the video game and so he's not concentrating in class. And that's something that I saw with my proper cousin like yesterday. He was not focusing on his homework. He's smart, but he didn't want really to learn because he just wanted to play the video game because his friends were playing. And so he was learning instead of playing with his friends.
They make it so you get addicted. I mean, they psychologically engineer those video games so you get addicted.
Exactly, addicted, and like you don't want to do anything more. You wake up, you don't even eat. You like get your cell phone and go to play, and then like when you're really hungry, you just go there and get something to eat. And it's not good for your health.
Mm-mm. I think there everything is so fast in social media, in video games. It gives you like ADD even if you don't have it. It makes your brain kind of have attention deficit disorder.
Yes, exactly.
What groups do you look to internationally that are youth-led climate organizations? Like, where do you go to say, oh, what's the latest kind of information or activity that I should know about?
Like in social media or groups in general.
Well, the two go together, right? Because the groups are on social media. But like Fridays for Future, I don't know. Which groups do you follow?
Um, I'm like groups that I participate or the regular labs that I participated. Kids Rise Changemaker that I'm still writing my project. There's Extra Oceans. The Children vs Climate Crisis. There's Echo Club. Now, me and some other youths, we are creating an Instagram called Green Kingdom, and we are trying to get youth from all over the world. And these are some groups that I participate and follow. I follow Friday for Future, and I follow the group called Uprising, and mainly these types of groups on social media, which I'm always like I follow a lot of UN groups also, like UNICEF and these types of groups, because I'm always like being updating myself, and I always update also myself in Google. Like I Google many things to know what's happening all over the world.
Say more about your Instagram group, the Green. What was it?
Green Kingdom.
Kingdom. And how are you making yourself unique as a site? What is your
Well,
pitch?
we are trying to create an Instagram. It's me and I know just one of the youths, which is Samir, which he's from India. And so he asked me if I could represent Brazil as Green Kingdom Brazil. And of course, I accepted because that's what I want. I want to spread as much awareness. And so this group is getting youths from all around the world and to like get together and spread awareness and do protests and everything in different ways. And so yeah, I'm new to it, but I'm really liking to participate in it. And we're just starting it, this small Instagram led by youths. But I believe that these types of organizations, small or big, are the ones who start making a big, really big change.
How did the Indian boy know about you? How did you connect?
Um, I believe he talked. I believe maybe he talked to Redima, which is also another activism. I don't remember if he talked to Redima and Redima told him about me, or if probably he found me on my Instagram. Yeah, he found me on my Instagram because my Instagram, see, I have a lot of activism posts, and so I believe that how he saw I was also part of the hashtag children's climate crisis and everything, he got in contact with me and he asked me really to do a video for the project, and so I did the video, and then we did a video call, and he asked me if I wanted to be part of the Green Kingdom as management,
Mm.
and so I'm starting right now, and it's been really great to participate in this youth-led group.
Do you know what other countries are early members of Green Kingdom besides India and Brazil?
I think there is Africa, and there I think there is people from Uganda, and there's people from Nigeria, I think. Yeah, I just know about these ones, but I think we have more.
And how will you be different than, say, Fridays for Future?
Um, can you repeat,
Yeah, how
please?
will Green Kingdom be different than, say, Fridays for Future? What will you do that has a different approach?
Um, Really, I believe that the difference maybe between Green Kingdom and Fridays for Future. Like I really like Fridays for Future. I like what they do. I really love that group. I like the actions they are taking. But I believe that the main difference is that there's also other people like from other places, and I don't know if there are people in this group who are from Fridays for Future, but there are different people with different perspectives, and I believe different perspectives creates a lot of different changes, and I learned a lot of that because when I was seeing like let's say the lack of environmental and sustainable education issue, and I wanted to talk about it, and so I asked other people from like around the world, and when I was like, I'm doing a documentary and a film, and there's other people from around the world. And so we started talking about this issue, and we saw that inside this issue, there are also small issues that, like, when we created a solution, we saw that these solutions wouldn't be affordable for everyone. And so we had really to create an entire solution which would be affordable for everyone, which would not just solve the problem for, let's say, developed countries or just people in poverty. It would solve the problem on a whole.
Well, what's an example of an issue that has that kind of class distinction, or this isn't, we can't apply it to everybody?
Um, I think I would say the lack of environment education. I'm really passionate about this issue because when I talk about a solution, I first thought about a solution of putting it as a mandatory class in schools. And of course, it's a great solution. But when I talked about with a girl called Latifa in Uganda, she told me that there are people in Uganda and there's also people from Nigeria in this group. And they told me that there are people who don't even go to school. So we had to find a solution to get this type of education to these people. And so what we thought was that there are organizations in these places. For example, there's an organization led by Latifa, and they do like climate smart urban farming. And there in Uganda, there's something that is called food insecurity. And maybe the people and the youths who cannot go to school, maybe they're going to do the climate smart urban farming because they have food insecurity. And for them to have food, they're going to do this urban farming. And so when they do this, I believe that education, it does not just come by sitting on a classroom and listening to someone to speak, but it also comes by seeing someone taking a great action or seeing a good example. And so they will be there like planting their food and recycling the plastics, and at the same time the people who are from this organization, they can also talk a little bit about it, giving them a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of education.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was like a solution that we came for those people who do not have the opportunity to go to schools.
Mm-hmm. I think there's probably people in favelas in Brazil who don't go to school or go to bad schools too, right?
Yes, I believe public schools in, let's say, uh, also not non-public schools have to have this as mandatory classrooms. But when I think about favelas, I believe that something that I think would that I got this idea from Uganda because this my friends told me about this climate smart urban farming, and I believe that this idea can also come here to Brazil, to the favelas of Brazil, because how it already starts giving education. People from the favelas, they will probably come to plant their food because they're people, they do not have a lot of money, and so they also do not have the opportunity to have a lot of food. And so if they can plant their food, they'll be able to have as much food as they need on their table. And also, here in Brazil, we have a lot of trafficking of drugs, and there are kids who already rob banks and these things. And I believe this is a waste of time. I believe that for them to do this, they're having free time. And so instead of them wasting their time on trafficking drugs and playing with guns and going to rob banks, they could waste their time on planting their food on the climate smart urban farming. They could waste their time on recycling the bottle for them to put and plant their food and everything. And so it would just positively affect them in many different ways.
When I was visited a favela in Rio, it was really crowded. And when I was in India, it's crowded. And I always thought that rooftops are great places to grow vegetables in pots. Or I thought you could take big truck tires and put plastic and dirt and grow on rooftops because there's plenty of sun. But I never see that. So I wonder why there isn't more, at least rooftop gardening, vegetable gardening.
I believe the people here in Brazil, there are people who are lazy, or they're not even lazy. How I said, they do not have the education, or there is not someone who is giving them support for them to do that. There's not someone who is saying that that would just help them. And so they think that by doing that, that it's just negatively affecting them, or that is a waste of time. They don't see that planting is a good thing. They see other things, and that is something that I would like to solve. Really, I would like to solve a lot of things, but I believe we have to start from our community and go expanding. And so, how I live in Brazil, I wanted to start from my community and go expanding through my city and go expanding to the country. Because here in Brazil, I believe we have a really big issue of an environmental and sustainable issue. And so I believe that those in favela, they are really good people to start working with. And I believe I can be the person who will give them the support or the idea for them, for example, to start planting their food on the rooftops.
For some reason I had the picture of those big truck tires that they're hollow, so there's a fair amount of room in there to put dirt and to grow tomatoes or peppers or
Yes.
whatever, because people just throw them away, I think.
Yes, there's a fairly big amount of room. I believe that, or maybe they do not even have the idea, or maybe there is not someone how I said supporting them. But that is what a project of mine that I'm trying to make called Eco Club Sustentari is one of the things we want to change. We want to create opportunity, and we want to give support and ideas for those who do not have those types of opportunity. Mainly for those who are in favelas, for those who the people do not look at, or they think they're someone who, like, they treat them as they are not humans. And so that is something, a project that I'm creating called Eco Sustentare is one of the things it wants to change.
That would be exciting. That would make a big difference. Um,
Yeah.
are there books that have influenced you, or is social media the main information source?
Really, social media is the main information source, but I also read books in social media. Like books I mainly read, or like I read a book of Malala, and then it's mainly from when I get books, it's from the internet or from the library, but they're not like, I don't find a lot of thick books about the environment. I just find like thin books, and yeah, and like I right now in being part of another book, and right now I'm doing an interview for a book that I'm really excited to see how it will look. And I know it will be a great and awesome book, which I know I will read it. And yes, I believe that right now we're having more books about that. But here in Brazil, something that happens a lot is that people don't like to read. People don't like to study. People, they like to do other things, or they just like to watch television, or as I said, play video games. And that's something that we have like to change. And for that, people have to change like how they live, because people are living like that.
Did you say you were part of another book, or so far this one?
Um, yeah, it's another book called I think it's The Unstoppables, the name of the book. Yeah,
What's
and
what's it
yeah,
about?
uh,
What's it about?
it's about in also empowering I think it's 100 empowering activism from all around the world, and so it has like different stories from them.
Neat. When you think about climate change and our ability to act to turn it around in 10 years or 11, are you an optimist or a pessimist?
Um, Optimist is like who think like it's
It'll
like
get better.
I think it will get better and everything. I believe I'm. and really optimism because I believe that if we really want change, we can create that change. And so that's something that I see. Even though we can take a little bit long, but I believe that we will climb the stairs. But while we climb the stairs, we'll have challenges. But in some time, we will get to the top and we will get to our goal to where we wanted to get.
Hmm. Do you do you think we can do it in 10 years? I mean, that's not very long, and you have people like Bolsonaro who don't want to do anything, don't even acknowledge that it's a problem.
Um, I believe we can do it in 10 years. We have to change laws and everything, but if we start, like we're already starting to make changes, now I believe the governments have to take more actions on it because I always believe we can do more than we are doing. And so, as the society can do more than it's doing, the governments can also do more than it's doing. And so I believe that if everyone really starts doing it, like really, really start doing, we can do it in 10 years.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? Where will you have gone to university? What will you be doing for work?
Um, in 10 years, I would probably continue being surfing, and I want to study a business of sustainability because I want to have a sustainable business. And I see myself in the future where we will not we when we talk about like the issues we have about plastic pollution and climate change, it will be when we talk about it will be us talking about how we solved the problem and how everybody changed the way they lived for us to solve this problem.
Hmm, you are an optimist. Good. Uh, what advice would you give to someone who is just starting out as an activist and really gets that it's an issue and we have to change? What would you tell them? It's really important that you do A, B, and C.
Um, I'll really tell you that always be persistent and never give up because we always have challenges in life. In being an activism, we have a lot of challenges. I myself have a lot of challenges until today, but um, continue, never give up because even though you are not seeing the change you're making, maybe you're creating a bigger change than you know, and the changes come sometimes in a faster pace or sometimes it comes in small steps. So just continue doing what you're doing because you are probably creating a gigantic change.
Hmm. You mentioned that you really have faced challenges. What are some of those challenges that you faced?
Um, some challenges that I believe or that people do not listen to us. That's a really big challenge, not just for me, but if you're an activist, you know that. Because many people think, oh, they're youth, they don't know what you're talking about. They're kids. They're probably someone behind them or someone behind what they're doing. Someone telling them what to do. But just because we are youth, just because we're kids, it doesn't mean we don't know what we're doing. We are taking action because we're seeing that if we do not do something, then there's not going to be someone doing it for us because we are seeing that we are going to be the ones there in the future. We are going to be the ones there seeing how our planet will be, seeing the consequences that our actions on the past causes. And so we don't want to be there, the ones to pay these consequences. And so we wanted to do something. But for that, we also need the older generation to cooperate and also listen to us and change making the right choices and taking the right actions. For me, this is the biggest challenge is that people do not listen to us. But also, we can see that there are issues from all over the world, not for me specifically, but for the world. And I believe that issues in the world are also my issues. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Um, is there anything that we've left out that you think is important to talk about in terms of youth or activism or climate change?
Um, I believe we talked about everything because, yeah, I believe I just wanted to say that if you are starting an activism, you have your challenges, but you'll be able to pass them, and one time you'll get to the goal where you want. And I'll tell you something, you are not alone. I promise you, there are many people all over the world who are fighting for the same cause as you are.
Right. Last question. What do you do for fun to kind of renew, charge your batteries besides surf?
Yes, besides surfing, I love horses, and so when I'm able to ride horses, I do. I also love to read. I like to watch films with my family. I like to learn skateboarding, even though I'm not the best. I do my best to learn. I like to play with my dog. I like to study, to read, and yeah, like I love all of this. I also really like to spend time with my family, like just talking and these things because it's really good to like just spend a little bit of time with my family. It's funny also, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, thank you.